This episode of the Rogue Deck Builder is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 source for games and gaming accessories, and by GatheringMagic.com, the #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and articles. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with the first episode of the Rogue Deck Builder. Let me introduce myself. A lot of you may already know me from the Playing on the Budget series or know me from my YouTube channel, YouTube/Roguedeckbuilder. I'm thankful to Gathering Magic for giving me this spotlight. Hopefully once a week or twice a month I'm going to be actually featuring a rogue deck on GatheringMagic.com. This is what I'm known for. This is actually my passion. I love doing the Playing on the Budget. I love helping people out that are on a budget. I particularly am not a budget player. I will talk about my budget story in Playing on a Budget here the following week. I do have a good budget story of how all my cards were stolen, about $8,000 worth of cards, and I had to start from scratch. And one of the ways I was able to get back into Magic was by playing on a budget. But that is a story for another day. What my real passion in Magic is rogue deck building. I am a psychology major, and one of my focuses in psychology was personality theory. Some of you may be familiar with the Myers-Briggs type indicator. I kind of swear by it. It's kind of I use it as a guidebook for my life. I really love personality theory. I really think it's pertinent to how a person operates. And my personality type, I'll get into that. I mean, if you want to Google MBTI, you can go ahead and figure out your own personality type. But I digress. I'm not going to nerd out too much on personality theory here. And anyway, my personality type is ENFP. And ENFPs lead with a cognitive function called extroverted intuition, which is all about possibilities, ideas, and exploring the world through your intuition, through your abstract thought. So as far as Magic is in my personality, how Magic works with my personality is I'm really attracted to the deck building part of Magic, the creativity part, the expressing myself through my deck building. And so I tend not to like net decks. I have nothing personally against people that play net decks. I myself have played Tier 1 decks at various tournaments. I have flirted with more competitive Magic. I have been on a pro tour, and I've basically on the local level, I've won everything there is to win. I've won a PTQ, I've won game days, I've won FNMs, I've won various win-a-box tournaments and things like that. Haven't won a states yet. Haven't won any. Our area doesn't get a lot of Star City Opens. I did top 16 at a Star City Open, and I did 6-3 at my first GP. So I mean, I do have that competitive. And day 2 at Pro Tour, that was cool. I do have that competitive experience, but my real passion in Magic is really the rogue decks. And I basically got my start. I got addicted to rogue decks probably back in, I would say, the Kamigawa Ravnica blocks, when we had a real net decking, real spike environment at the local game store that I played at, and we had a guy that he literally, and he had to have spent all his money on Magic, because whenever there would be a new deck, he would just go and he would buy it off the internet and come and play his net deck. And he was pretty good. He won most of the tournaments at our local game store. And I remember it was just right after a Worlds tournament where I'm trying to think of the deck. It's a green-white deck using Yosei, and I'm trying to think of the enchantment that taps everything down. And so you build a lot of tokens, tap everything down, and finish them basically with Yosei. But it just won Worlds, and he literally got on the internet and bought the entire deck to play in the next FNM against us. And I brought my Magnivore brew to play, and we were in the finals together. No one was prepared for a Magnivore. Basically, the brew was live from the loam. And I think I used Gifts Ungiven to find stuff. I'm not sure exactly how. It was a rug deck, I know that. And I used a ton of sorceries, there was Wildfire, and there was Thoughts of Ruin, a lot of ways to slow your opponent down to destroy other lands. And we're in the finals. I think we're in the semifinals, so not even quite the finals. And we were matched up against each other, and I got my God Draw with my Magnivore deck and locked him out. And man, did he rage. He basically told me what an awful player, what an awful human being I was, how I didn't deserve to be in the finals, how I was just going to lose, and how my deck, my deck was total jank and whatnot. And just the rage from him, that solidified my love for rogue decks and to play rogue decks at tournaments. My next major experience with that, I took a huge break. I did the whole get a girlfriend, almost get married, almost get divorced thing. That's a story for another day too. Anyway, so I quit Magic for about 4 or 5 years, and I got back into the Scars of Mirrodin and played for a little bit. Didn't play competitively, but a GP came to Salt Lake City, and I thought, okay, I'll practice for this. I'll go to a GP. That sounds fun. So my very first major tournament, I ran a Chancellor of the Tangle deck, and it was basically a green-white deck that tried to get a turn 2 Hero of Bladehold by, I used like 16 mana dorks, I believe, and there are so many ways to get off. If you had a Chancellor of Tangle in your hand and a Hero of Bladehold in your hand, you basically got that off. You revealed the Chancellor of Tangle first turn, and second turn you could drop down a Hero of Bladehold. And it was just, it outraced the deck of the month. The flavor of the month was the Slagstorm Wolf Run. The Wolf Run ramp is what they called it. And you could outrace the Slagstorm because Hero Bladehold had a 3/4 toughness. So Slagstorm on turn 3 would not kill. It could kill your Mana Dorks, but it couldn't kill your Hero Bladehold. And the other way for that deck to win was again, get like a turn 2 Sword of War and Peace hooked up to a Birds of Paradise, and your opponent wouldn't be able to empty their hand quick enough. And same thing, I was actually a grinder. The day before, you can do some things called a grinder. There's 6 rounds, I believe. So 32 players, maybe more, maybe. So a single elimination, 6 rounds. And the winner gets 3 buys to the Grand Prix. And I really wanted to get those buys because I know how important buys are at Grand Prix. I mean, so you're going from having to play 8 rounds to only having to play 5 rounds. And so I wanted to grind it out, and it was actually my second grinder. I'd lost to a Delver deck, the grinder before. Second grinder, in round number 2, I was matched up again against a Wolf Run ramp, and I got the first turn. I was on the play, revealed the Chancellor Tangle, dropped a Birds of Paradise, dropped a Llanowar Elf, and second turn dropped a Plains, and threw down a Hero of Bladehold on turn number 2. And my opponent looks at it, looks at me, looks at his hand. He's got the Slagstorm in his hand. Slagstorm's off my 2 mana dorks, but I swing in for I'd already swung in for 7 the turn before and swung in for the win on, I believe it was turn number 4. I was able to swing in for the win. So and then I did that. I was lucky enough to get that combo off both games, and man, oh man, did he rage. Threw in his chair, threw down his cards, started because those grinders were quite expensive. I believe they're $20 or $25 to do a grinder, and the prize support was absolutely awful as well. I think it was only half a box. I ended up winning that grinder, completely going the distance with my Chancellor Tangular deck and getting my grinder, my 3 buys and the box of cards or whatever. But anyway, yeah, was he mad that, how I didn't deserve to win this, how, my deck couldn't win tomorrow. And I didn't even know if I was going to run this deck tomorrow. I was just running this for the grinder. It was the only deck I really had. I'd messed around with it like maybe in F&M before. And so again, that was just another experience of a spike raging at me for running my rogue deck. So now it's kind of a hobby of mine to make spikes rage. I actually have a collection on my computer, screenshots of everyone on MTGO that has sworn at me, that has raged at me, or whatnot by running a rogue deck in a standard daily. So that is a lot of time. It's kind of a side goal. I mean, I do want to win. I do want to make creative decks, but I absolutely love it when these hardcore net decking spikes rage at me for running a rogue deck. So anyway, that's just a little bit of my background. Again, I've been running a YouTube channel for about a year. It's been quite successful. The Johnnies out there tend to, if you haven't read Mark Rosenwater's demographics of Magic players, where he breaks them down into 3 major types, the Spike, the Johnny, and the Timmy. And again, I love that article because, again, I'm into personality theory, and I can see the different Myers-Briggs personality types playing out for each of those demographics. So anyway, I tend to be a Johnny player, Johnny with mixed in with a little bit of Spike. I do love to compete. Like I said, the Pro Tour was amazing. That was a great experience. I was happy to day 2. I was happy to, even though I did punt day 2, I was happy to get to day 2, and it was a great experience. And big shout out to GatheringMagic.com for their sponsorship there for the Pro Tour. They are great to me. It wouldn't have happened without them helping me out, because those things can be, even the Wizards does cover the plane ticket, those Grand Prix can be quite expensive. So anyway, I hope this channel is a success. You can always shoot me an email at kevin@roguedeckbuilder.com, or even at Gathering Magic has a way to forward it to me. if you have an idea for a rogue deck, and we'd love to spotlight it. Again, what you see before you is Immortal Servitude brew that I'm trying to brew with, and we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, just the goals again of this channel, this episode is to build the most creative decks. And hopefully, like I was spoiled last season because one of my decks, Bug Immortal Servitude, was spotlighted by a number of names, of bigger names, like Louis Scott Vargas actually spotlighted it on his daily MTG, whereas I was good. I went like 3 or 4, I would say half a dozen times I went 3-1 in the standard daily with Bug Immortal Servitude. So disappointed, never did get quite get that 4-0 finish, but I had a bunch of 3-0s, had a bunch of 8-man wins, and I had a very good win percentage, especially when Naya Blitz was the big thing with Bug Immortal Servitude. So I've had this love for Bug Immortal Servitude, and I'm hoping that it gets spotlighted. I hope these rogue decks get another shout out. Hoping this deck, in theory, this deck should work a lot like the Bug Immortal Servitude. The whole combo with Bug Immortal Servitude, you can check out my channel for that. And unfortunately, most of the cards rotated for Bug Immortal Servitude, so it is not viable at the moment. So I'm thinking that the combo is Blood Artist, so you're going to basically get a bunch of value creatures that replace themselves, and then hit enough Blood Artists either in play or in your graveyard, and then a sack outlet, then Immortal Servitude, and then you can sack all of your creatures and just win. And then you get so much card advantage, like from all they had Elvish Visionaries and Alchemist Apprentice. They replaced themselves, Snapcaster Mages, and you were able to fill up your graveyard, Immortal Servitude, and if that didn't kill them, then your next Immortal Servitude would. And man, oh man, would I love that in the archetype right now, in the metagame right now, where it is just very heavy creature based decks and not very much control, because this deck, the Bug Immortal Servitude, just was really good against creature decks. It had a hard time, of course, against control decks, because all they really needed to do was counter the Immortal Servitude, and they were great. Anyway, so this is my little take on Immortal Servitude. I do have an Immortal Servitude deck up on my YouTube channel that was not a success. It was a one-drop version. It did not use Perforos. Perforos is going to be our win condition in this one. This is going to be where our sack outlet is going to be Tymerit, and our win condition is going to be Perforos. So there's a number of ways to do that. First of all, everything in our deck is kind of hasty, and we're checking that out right now because I might actually want to get rid of these dudes. The good thing about these dudes is they are double. Look at all these double red devotion stuff. They will actually make Perforos active to where he can actually attack in for 6, which isn't bad. So we have these guys, and I'll show you some combos. Everything either has haste or some sort of way to give us either mana or be a threat. So I'm using Packrat in here. I don't know how well Packrat's going to do. And a lot of times they like Packrat in the Mono Black Devotion because the tokens give you devotion counts. And Packrat can get a little bit out of control. So I'm not knowing how well I like Packrat. If I don't like Packrat, it probably will be Scavenging Ooze that's going to come in, because Scavenging Ooze is really good for exiling creatures and gaining me some life, hopefully helping me stabilize until I can get the combo out. And we also have access to Lotless Troll. So Lotless Troll didn't work in my Bug Immortal Servitude deck. It was just too weak, but in this metagame, it might actually work very well, as it can help me stabilize, it regenerates, and help me get to turn 4 or turn 5 to where I can actually start applying enough pressure and then Immortal Servitude the win. So my goal here is to actually get into some early damage with Ash Zealot, Spike Jesters, and Rakdos Shred Freaks. I don't have a 1-drop. You can't really afford to go on 1-drop in this deck. If I would go any sort of 1-drop, it'd probably be like Thoughtseize or Duress. Or we could go Shocks, but none of those are very good. I thought about Young Pyromancer and going a heavier count of spells, since you will be casting a bit of spells here, and it works very well with Young Pyromancer and Perforos. But again, I didn't think that was the way to go. So basically, what cards I'm using to fill my graveyard and find the lands that I need is Grizzly Salvage and Commune with Nature. So my mana base is basically everything's going to add for a green or a black to cast either Commune with the Gods or Grizzly Salvage. I'm thinking Grizzly Salvage is a little bit better, because 99% of the time I'm probably going to grab a land and fill up my graveyard with creatures. So Commune cannot grab a land, but it can grab my win con with Perforos. So I do need one Perforos out, and I don't want to be having Immortal Servitude into a Perforos for the win con. But you don't have to have Perforos. Tymerit is also a win condition. So the whole theory of this deck is you bring back everything from your graveyard, it will generate enough red mana to sack them all. So what I mean by that is you have the Satyr Hedonists, and the Burning Tree Emissaries, that when they come into play from the Immortal Servitude, you're going to have a floating red and a floating green. The green can be used for his colorless activation. The red can be used as the activation for the red on Timerit. And then Satyr Hedonist, of course, can ramp up even more, so you can sack for enough to give your hasters either the +1/+0 they need to finish it. So of course we're relying on some early damage here from the Ash Zealots and whatnot swinging in, and then just going over the top of the Immortal Servitude. Again, I don't know how well this is untested, completely untested. This is a brand new brew. I do not know how well this is going to perform. It might just be a complete bust. But this is how you brew decks. You kind of fiddle with different cards. I am determined. We could drop green completely and just go more creatures, just flood the yard with even more creatures, and we can go up our land count a little bit more, and then just rely on these Immortal Servitudes for kind of late game finishers. I don't know. We'll try that. But I really like the green for the Satyr Hedonists. And for the control package it allows me in the sideboard. Golgari Charm is probably one of the most underrated cards in the format right now. It takes care of Master of Waves. It takes care of a lot of early white decks with like Imposing Sovereign and Soldier of the Pantheon and all those type of things, as it does give all creatures -1/-1. The Destroyed Enchantment is very pertinent right now, as most decks are using enchantment. Black uses Underworld Connections and Whip of Erebos. Blue uses Biden of Thassa. White uses a lot of times Spear of Heliod or Chain to the Rocks. So Golgari Charm is very, very, very good with that all creatures -1/-1. Also, the regenerate each creature control is not horrible. If I do get an aggressive draw with like Ash Zealots and Spike Jesters and whatnot, and I'm playing against control deck, and then I can keep this up, like I got a Spike Jester and Ash Zealot out, I'll keep that up when they Supreme Verdict. That's an extra 5 damage I can do the following turn. Also, there you go. There's another deck that uses Detention Spheres. UW uses a whopping 4 of Detention Spheres. The worst thing in the world is going to have a Perforos Detention Sphere. So that's no good. Anyway, we've got Abrupt Decay, of course, for Detention Spheres as well, but Abrupt Decay is going to be used for early game. It's going to take care of Pack Rats. Golgari Charm also takes care of the first Pack Rat. It's going to take care of a lot of things. And I've got Putrifies in here as well. You could go the Murder, the Hero's Downfall, but I'm thinking Putrify can destroy artifacts. Again, Biden of Thassa, Whip of Erebos, those type of things. So I've got in here, again, this sideboard is we need to test this out. I'm thinking of putting like even a Veraska in the sideboard. I don't know, or even like a Chandra in the sideboard against the control matchups. We'll see how it works. I've got more Pack Rats and Law of the Trolls to mess around with them. I can switch in and switch out. If I just want to completely take these out, I have these cards that I can bring in. So I don't know how well this can perform without any removal main board. Maybe I'm just going to get completely overrun by mono. I'm thinking I can outrace mono blue. It's going to be about 4th turn. They're going to have to attack in 5th turn, and that's without them. That's with them getting the perfect draw. I'm going to be a little bit aggressive, and all like I said, all I have to do is 4th turn Perforos and a 5th turn Immortal Servitude, and hopefully we can have enough in the yard, or we can stabilize, make them use enough removal or whatnot to take care. I mean, this is a 3/1 blocker, if nothing else. It's going to be able to take out like Colonial Tuskers. It's going to be able to take out. It's going to be able to block Lifebane zombies. It's going to be able to. Red deck wins not much, but it's definitely going to be able to be defensive, if not aggressive, to get in there for 3 damage per turn if they don't take care of it. So again, Time Merit is the key to this card. It also has a way to sacrifice to bring him back into play. So again, we can it doesn't shoot down creatures, but we can at least shoot down players early, and then eventually, hopefully, just bring them all back. So hopefully this works out. Again, this is thanks to Gathering Magic for the Shadow. Oh, one more card. We have one of Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, as if we Immortal Servitude in and we have floating mana due to the Burning Tree Emissaries coming in, that's a way for us to, like, if you have even 3 of these in your graveyard, an Ash Zealot, a Burning Tree Emissary, and say a Timerit, you're going to be generating 2 mana from the Burning Tree Emissary to activate the Shrine of Nyx, which is going to add you 5 mana, which could be 2 activations of Timerit, or, I mean, if you've been having more, that's 7 mana it's going to generate. That's double activations of +1/+0, and then you'd be able to swing in for 4 and 8 with your Ash Zealots, or, you know, even if we didn't have Timerit like this, you're going to be swinging in for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 right here with haste damage and then also these coming in would be doing 2, 4, 6, 8. So you'd be swinging in for the basically 21 damage to the win, or whatever that came out to be. So I'll ramble a little bit here. That's what is in there. A big shout out to Gathering Magic for giving us this spotlight. This will be hosted on my channel, so eventually you'll be able to see it on my channel, but we'll be releasing on Gathering Magic first. Thanks to them. They are wonderful sponsors, man. You definitely support Gathering Magic. They have made Roguedeckbuilder.com possible. They've made playing on a budget possible. They have been very, very generous. And like I said, the sponsorship of the Pro Tour was awesome. I wouldn't have been able to have that experience without them. So if you're a fan of the show, please go check them out and support them. They invest a lot into the community. They spend loads and loads and loads of money on writers and whatnot. And they're the first to believe in new up-and-coming things. Again, they found me early in my career and believed in me, and have given me these opportunities to make these sweet videos. So yep, I hope you enjoy this. Oh, let me give you a little plug again to Gathering Magic. We're going to be doing a show called The Rogue Rescue. 90% of my emails have been people asking me to look at their decks and help them out with their decks. So once a week we're going to pick one of those. Hopefully what we're going to do is have you submit a video. It's going to be a parody of the show Bar Rescue, if you've ever seen Bar Rescue on Spike TV. I'm going to kind of do a parody of that, and it'll be fun. It'll be lighthearted, so don't take it too seriously. We're going to be taking people's decks and we're going to be trying to make them better, and then we're going to have them play it again at their FNM and tell us how they did. And I'll play a few matchups of those as well in MTGO. So I won't ramble anymore. This is the deck tech of the Immortal Servitude. This is Kevin with Gathering Magic and Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.